sticking it out till the end of the day and joining us. You can come on in. Oh, perfect. Awesome. All right, well, welcome everyone. I hope everybody's had a great first day at Texas Camp. My name is Molly Nelson, and I'm the project manager at ProMetSource. And today I'm going to be talking to y'all about more social, less media, harnessing the power of human connection to achieve marketing success. So I have to say, I can't take credit for this concept. It was one that was actually introduced to me a few years ago. By a blogger and fitness expert, Dallas Hartwig. And the way that he describes this concept is to not permanently avoid all media and digital technology, but rather to focus on prioritizing meaningful social interactions to reassess the way that you consume digital media. And the addition of quality time is just as important as the reduction of distracting devices. So honestly, it kind of got me thinking about the implications of this process and of this concept. And while those implications really have a powerful impact on our personal lives away from our devices and, establishing those real human connections, it really got me thinking about, as a marketer, from a business standpoint, had I been placing enough weight on the tactics that really encourage that real meaningful human connection on the business side of things. So that's really how this concept in this presentation kind of evolved. So today I kind of wanted to start with what we will not be chatting about. And I apologize, it looks like my thumbs up emojis aren't coming through. So apologize for the technical difficulties there. But I want to start out by, prefacing this by saying, these are absolutely crucial, fantastic parts of any marketing mix. So I'm by no means saying that marketing metrics and analytics and ROI and digital marketing tools are not important things, because of course, as we all know, they are incredibly crucial parts of any business. But I'll be honest, it's just all too easy for marketers, for business development professionals, for project managers, for developers, any part of the business that you're part of. It's easy to get caught up in hitting numbers and filling your pipeline and slamming your professional services team with as much work as they can possibly handle, that sometimes we forget to just stop and focus on what we do best and trying to, do better at harnessing that human connection. So really, I want to kind of invite everybody to just take a step back from the numbers, from those tactics that might get us that nice, pretty ROI that everybody's looking for, especially when we're investing time and resources into the marketing side of things, and maybe even forget for a while about the MailChimps and the HubSpots and the Marketos of the world. We know they're not going anywhere, and they're always going to be tools that we want to use, and they're very necessary, but let's talk instead about what really matters most. And that's the people, all of the people that we interact with. It's going to be your team, your clients, the Drupal community that, of course, brought us all here this weekend. And then, of course, you and your personal brand and what you bring to the table, both as a professional and just as a person, too. So I want to start out by telling you guys what we are going to cover today. So we're going to go over establishing those real, lasting connections with your clients, how to harness the strengths of your team, finding and focusing what your business is really well at and how you can do more of it, and then using all of those things to market yourself, market your brand and your team, or even your business as a whole. So let me give you just a little bit of history and background on myself first. So way back in 2011, just to give you all a little bit of context, I was right out of college and thrown into making a Drupal 6 site with my previous company, Go. They said, we've hired this freelancer, we're 4 months into the process, they told us it was going to take 4 weeks, we need you to take this CMS and make it live. And first of all, I didn't know what a CMS was. I didn't know what Drupal was. I basically had only had the exposure of building a GeoCities site for my high school softball team and building a little WordPress site for my study abroad adventures when I was in college. So I needed help. And also often, this is a similar story that I hear from a lot of the clients that ProMet works with. We get people who say, I've just had this site dropped in my lap and I don't know what to do. So that's really where ProMet came in. So there, of course, was plenty of other web development shops that the company that I worked for at the time met with, but it turns out that I ended up being a ProMet client. So it just took a little bit of Googling Chicago Drupal support for, that to lead me to ProMetSource. So as we can see, that digital marketing wizardry does play a role here, but it really wasn't what made the lasting impression. So we met with plenty of other web development shops that talked to us about all the whiz-bang cool things that they could build for us. We were, a small engineering firm just kind of taking our business online for the first time, and we weren't really sure what we needed. And all these other shops told us all these cool things that they could build for us. They showed us their case studies, they showed us their products and the things that they built for other people. But the problem was, we didn't even know at that time what we needed. And as a marketer and being fresh out of college myself and having to really make this Drupal site go, I had no idea what I needed. So it turned out that what we did need was somebody to just sit down and talk through with us what we were trying to accomplish. What were our goals? And what were we trying to do by taking our business online? So when I stepped into the role I was previously in, they said, we need a website. Everybody has a website. Our competitors, our customers, they want to be able to see our business online. But there was really no talk about what the business goals were. What were the objectives we were trying to address? And what did we want our customers to really engage with when they went to our site? Did we want to make a sale? Did we want to educate them? And that was where ProMet really kind of led us through that process. So it really helped that they took the time to understand our business. So they said, let's talk about it. Let's talk about your goals. Let's establish those goals. So from there, my team really had the confidence in ProMet that they truly understood our business, especially when it came down to getting to the project scope. So it wasn't just a conversation of numbers and results and what they were going to build for us. It really started with what was the business need. So we felt like, as the client, the hardest part was really over, and we could hand over the website project, and we knew that it was in good hands. So the next step, of course, from there was to build something great. But really, the long-term impact for me as the client really didn't even come then. And it's, I think, what can often get overlooked and what we're going to be talking more about today. So at the time, Jenna, who was then my project manager and now a coworker and a friend of mine at ProMetSource, she didn't just stop checking in with us when the project was over. It wasn't, here's your website, nice knowing ya. It was those continual check-ins that every so often I'd hear from Jenna, and it might be a phone call, or it could be when she was passing along Drupal resources. She would say, hey, here's the daily drop, or here's this, this news that's coming out of Drupal.org that you might want to take a look at, because I know that you're new to Drupal and you're new to content editing. And she knew that I was just kind of like a baby deer. I was kind of lost and needed to find my way in the, the technology space. So it really helped me to feel more familiar with Drupal. And now as a marketer for ProMet, I can see the impact that both Jenna and our other project managers and our account managers can really have in, on ProMet's current and potential clients, and how that leads to more and new business. It's not the fact that we're just sending out the marketing campaigns on a regular basis. It's the fact that they know Jenna, and those all-important check-ins are helping to establish what's really most important in that long-term lasting relationship with our clients. So what do you guys think that is? What is that most important factor? Anybody have any guesses? Anyone? It's one word, just one little word. 5 letters. No? Anyone? It's trust. Yeah. So really, it's just that the trust that their business, their project, their ideas, their goals are in good hands, that they can rely on you no matter what the issue is or the problem is that they might be trying to solve. They want that friendly face or that friendly voice on the other end of the phone that's going to say, we hear you, we understand what you need, let's work through it together. And that trust is what's going to lead to that repeat business. So once you have the trust, how are you going to go about keeping the trust? So one of my favorite questions that a mentor of mine years ago started prompting me to ask our clients is, what would I have to do for you to fire us? And that's something that, it kind of takes people aback when they hear it. And they think that you're trying to catch them or, it's some type of trick. But really, what you want to get to is, what is the thing that would make you lose their business? And then you just have a conversation and kind of get to the point of, okay, well, we're going to try to not do that thing. But really, what it often leads to is that that conversation about why did they choose you in the first place and why have they stuck around. And that, I mean, for me as a marketer, that's the thing that I like to get to the heart of with our clients, and especially ones that have stuck around. And even those that we might have lost to another firm or decided to go with somebody else for a new project. It's good to kind of get to the heart of what were those factors that really led them either away or that keep them as a customer for the long term. So a lot of times those reasons that they've stuck around have to do with things that aren't necessarily tangible. It might not be the same reasons that they became a customer in the first place. Because if you think back to some of the projects that you're working on right now or some of your current clients, maybe they came to you because they saw another project that you put together, or maybe they saw another client's website that they really liked, or it might have even been a case study or one of your outbound marketing campaigns, or it could have been that they met you at DrupalCon, who knows. But more often than not, the reason that they decide to stay has nothing to do with those original reasons that they became a customer in the first place. So, oftentimes, it has to do with your team. That's what's going to keep them coming back again and again for your expertise. And that's where building up your team and building up the strengths of your team and really harnessing the power of that, especially when it comes to marketing and to business development, has to come into play. So when I've shared this slide with my team, it's kind of met with confusion. A lot of times it's met with a little bit of panic, like, are you going to take the developers and make them make cold calls? Are you going to take our project managers and send them all out to DrupalCon and say, bring us back 10 leads a day? And that's by no means what we're talking about. So the truth is that every single person, each and every one of them on your team, is a marketer. Everyone is a business development professional. Everybody has something of value to share. But a lot of times our natural inclination is to have that imposter syndrome set in, to think, okay, well, I've only been a developer for a couple years, or, I don't have anything of value to contribute back to the community, or anything that I might write a blog post about. What if people don't read it? Or what if people call it out and say, well, actually, you should do things this way? And they just get a little bit scared, and they need to kind of have that drawn out of them. And as marketers, any of you that might be marketers in the room, that's really on us to draw that out of our teams and to really get that engagement and to get people excited about sharing what they've done. And a lot of times that can be buried in a project retrospective. It could even just be the simple answer to a development question that maybe took somebody hours of Googling to find. I mean, how often are you trying to find an answer to a question or a way to solve a problem, and it takes you a really long time to figure it out? Well, more than likely, somebody else has had that same issue at one point or another, and that in and of itself is worthy of a blog post. It's worthy of a tweet. It's worthy of a Facebook post and putting it out there for the rest of the community to see, because more often than not, you're going to become that source of information that they're going to go to when they have a similar problem. They'll see that, oh, well, John from ProMet, he figured this out for me. Next time I have a similar problem, I'm going to call him up. He might know what to do. So really, when you think about it, each team is completely unique. We might all be development firms or freelancers or digital agencies, or we might even work for a university or work for a healthcare organization and think, okay, well, we have similar needs, we have similar interests, we might have some overlapping problems that we're trying to address. But when you think about it, the collective experience of your team is entirely unique. No two teams are going to work on the same projects, be working from the same set of requirements, or do the exact same thing every time. So when defining differentiators, I feel like this is one that can often be overlooked. We're trying to figure out, what niche can we address that hasn't been addressed by another Drupal agency? Or what product can we put out there that's trying to solve a problem that somebody else hasn't solved yet? But really, if you just kind of look inward and look at the team that you're surrounded by every day, you might come across some of these skill sets or some of these areas of interest or expertise that your team wants to pursue more of. So how do you market that? You share the knowledge. So of course, a lot of us are brought here this weekend for the Drupal camp. Some of you might have also done speaking engagements at DrupalCon or some of the other camps, but we even want to look outside of Drupal. Maybe talk to our customers about if they are in a specific vertical or in a specific industry, where are they getting their knowledge from? What publications are they looking to? What opportunities could you have to go to one of their events and present, or even build up your team and offer to help write a session submission? I can tell you that in the weeks leading up to DrupalCon, it was a lot of getting on Slack and getting on HipChat and saying, hey, I saw that you did this cool thing. Do you want to speak about it? Or, hey, I saw that you have this interest in this one specific area. How can I support you in that? And a lot of times that's all it takes to bring people out and get them talking about projects that they've done or areas that they want to learn more about. And that's a great way to start submitting a session, is just pick a topic that you want to spend some time doing research on. You don't have to know everything, but you've just got to kind of put yourself out there. So getting involved in the Drupal community and even branching outside some of those Drupal specific events, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a couple of slides, really gives your team a chance to establish that credibility and build up their confidence as well. So another way that you can do that is developing case studies. Of course, this might seem like a no-brainer, but one thing that a lot of people don't necessarily always consider is even going back to previous projects and looking at case studies that you might have written years ago and seeing, okay, well, what did we do previously and how can we replicate that? If we built this really great solution for, say, a community college or this one specific type of business, what are the chances that that specific type of business might also want the same type of solution? And that gives you the opportunity to not only collaborate as a team, but then reach out on a more one-to-one basis to other people in that area that might be interested in that product or that service that you have to offer. And then, of course, hosting webinars as well. And this is also a great opportunity to get more of that collaboration. One thing that I've kind of found to be beneficial for our team is when we do a project and we might be using some new tools, or we might be doing something for a vertical or for a new type of client that we've never done before, we kind of go through that project retrospective, and then we say, okay, let's talk about this. Let's just collaborate, and it might first be an internal webinar. We actually at ProMet, we call them IT meetings. We have them on a weekly basis for our internal team, but that can kind of bleed into something that becomes either a session submission or a blog post or a webinar that we actually promote to the larger Drupal community, and even at camps and cons as well. And then, of course, there's also blog posts, press releases, and even podcasts. We've had a couple of our team members that have gone on some tech-specific podcasts in the past few months. I think there's a few more coming up to talk about some of the tactics that they've done, some of the solutions and business problems that they've solved for their clients. And again, that's just another way to get your team more confident in talking about their experience and kind of get past that imposter syndrome of feeling like they don't have anything of value to share. And the next one that's kind of been a new thing for ProMet Source, something that we tried to handle internally for a lot of years, that we found to not only establish credibility for us in the community, but something that's really given us an opportunity to establish that human connection, is really getting involved with mentoring and training at Drupal camps, at DrupalCon, and then also just having a public training schedule as well. So just to give you a little bit of history, our training practice manager, Margaret Plett, who was the author of the Drupal 8 Acquia curricula, she came on board with ProMet a little over a year ago, and we started to build this training practice as a separate piece of our business. Now, what this opportunity to do training has led us to is the fact that we get this great one-on-one FaceTime with people who are current clients or potential clients to not only learn more about what their needs are and what problems they're trying to address, but it also gives ProMet the opportunity to establish our credibility and make those lasting connections with our students. So oftentimes, now that we've had this practice in place for a little over a year, we're starting to kind of see all of that effort come full circle. And we're seeing those students coming back to us when they have a question or they have a problem they're needing to solve, or maybe they have a topic that they want some additional training on, and it really comes back to those relationships that we've established with them. As much as I want to say it's because of my email newsletters and my marketing campaigns and all the tweets that I'm sending out, I know that it has much more to do with the connection that Margaret's establishing with our students and the fact that we're making ourselves available to them and we're becoming a resource for them long into the future. And that's something that even your team, from a mentoring standpoint, can get involved with the local Drupal community. Now, another concept I wanted to introduce that was first introduced to me several years ago in a book called Uncontainable, which was actually written by Austin native and Container Store founder Kip Tyndall. One of the concepts that really struck me the most in this book was one from Andrew Carnegie that goes, fill the other guy's basket to the brim. Making money then becomes an easy proposition. Now, for Container Store, this became one of the core philosophies of their business from the very start. And the idea here is to fill the other guy's basket, allowing them to creatively craft mutually beneficial relationships with their vendors. And the way that Container Store has embraced this concept is really by investing in those relationships, investing in their partnerships that they have in their professional community. That way, that they're always making sure that they're nurturing those relationships in the long term, and they're creating those really nice win-win situations. So for them, that can mean allowing their vendors to test out new products in their stores, which can often lead to Container Store being the first on the list to receive, say, a new shipment or a certain product if it's out of stock, and then they're able to better serve their customers. And that cycle just continues to repeat itself. When you're creating those win-win situations for your customers, your business is going to succeed while their business is succeeding as well. Now, in our space, that doesn't necessarily always mean dollars. That might mean, for an association, a way for them to promote to their membership. So say you go out and your team builds this really great solution or really great website for a new association or for one that's trying to grow their membership. Now, one way for them to get the word out might be some of those co-marketing activities. And that's the really cool thing about all those tactics that we talked about, all of those very same tactics, from speaking at camps to developing case studies, hosting those educational webinars, doing blogs, press releases, mentoring and training. Those are all things that you can involve your team on, but you can also involve your clients and your industry partners as well. So a lot of times we're going back through retrospectives and we're trying to identify, okay, what was the problem here that we were trying to address? Or how did this solution come about in the first place? And a lot of times as a team, we can't answer those questions internally. We have to go back to our clients. And when we go back to our clients, that opens the door to the conversation of, well, how can we take this and utilize this product that we've put together for you, and how can we make it really move the needle for your business as well? So if we're going to do a press release, then why not also do a press release on behalf of our clients as well? So it's just kind of a natural extension of those marketing efforts that are only going to help establish that credibility and that ability for you guys to continue the relationship with your clients. So how do you continue to kind of cut through the noise and make sure that customers stay loyal and continue to come back to you? So back in 2009, there was a Gallup study that actually showed that 70% of customer loyalty and spending decisions are based much more on emotional factors. So how can we, continue to engage individuals and connect them emotionally? I think the thing that I've found over the years as a marketer, and especially even more so that I've started to work in the Drupal space the past few years, is that a healthy mix of digital marketing and human connection is always key. I know as Drupalists and being in technology, it's easy for us to say, okay, well, I'm going to have my drip campaign set up, and I'm on the first page of Google, and I'm tweeting all the things, and I'm posting everything on Facebook, and all right, I'm done. I've done all the marketing I could possibly do. But sometimes it's picking up the phone. It's asking somebody to meet you for coffee, because what are they going to remember more? Are they going to remember the email that you sent them, asking them if they were ready to start the next project? Or are they going to remember the time that you took them out for coffee at DrupalCon and talked about your mutual love of Game of Thrones? I mean, which one would you remember most? So a lot of times you want to, nurture those relationships and turn your customers into advocates, because a lot of times you're going to want to go back and you're going to want to ask for referrals, and that would lead to new business. But honestly, we have to earn the right to those referrals. We can't just expect, just because we launched a great product for somebody and sent them off into Drupal land, that they're going to continue to want to come back to us. We have to earn that right, and we have to continue to nurture that relationship. Any questions? And then I also have the link up here to the joined.in if anybody would like to leave any comments or any other questions you might think of. I would greatly appreciate any feedback. But any questions? Yes?
I just had a comment.
Sure.
When you're talking about bringing the team in on, all the marketing efforts, so to speak, takes me back to early 90s working in a startup. And you have to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
You just had to do that. So it's just, and we were really effective. We were lean and mean, and we made greater connections in these marketing construct. And the other thing is it's very refreshing to hear you talk about the combined efforts with partners and clients, and it's something that I've been banging my head against the wall trying to get a number of people to get that concept here.
I hear you.
Because everyone benefits. It's very simple, and it's go with the flow. So anyway,
it really is.
It's a good talk.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. I know that we all talk community, and it's a sense of community, but it's hard when you go home. You leave the Drupal camps, you leave the Drupal cons, and come Monday, it's I have all these tickets in Jira that I have to address, and I've got this backlog of things that I have to do, and it's easy to just put your head down and start working and forget about the fact that we need to stay continually engaged, and we kind of need to start that internally before we can expect our customers to get involved as well. So, yes.
So then, I like the idea of the check-ins with your clients.
Mm-hmm.
So just like coming back around and like, how's it working for you? How's it going?
Exactly.
Do you have to? That's hard to do because you get stuck in whatever you're working on.
It really is.
How do you manage that? Like, do you just put in your calendar, be like, hey, call this person? How do you?
Yeah, so that's actually, that's something that I know over the years our business development team and our project managers have kind of struggled with, because it's hard to get out of just the regular project check-ins or once a project launches, or say they're done with their support contract, having to still schedule that. But the thing that I think has been most beneficial for the majority of our team is that they're actually putting that as like a task in Salesforce, or they're setting a reminder on their calendar. So say you get off the phone with somebody or you get off a meeting, doing that immediately, not waiting 3 or 6 months until the next time that you think, oh, I wonder if so-and-so has any more money to spend. I should call them up. I think just as long as you just do those things as immediately as possible, and always keeping them on your calendar, on your radar, it just kind of becomes that routine. It becomes that repeatable process that even if you just dedicate and set aside a couple hours a week to do, you'll be amazed how quickly you can get through those things. So, and a lot of times, picking up the phone, I've really found it's almost like people don't expect that anymore. When I first was starting my last job right out of college, I was doing a lot of cold calling and a lot of phone outreach. And I would hit the gatekeepers, and I would have a really hard time getting to the people that I wanted to talk to. But in the past few years, it's like the pendulum has swung the other way, and I can't get anybody to open my emails, but I can get somebody to pick up the phone, no problem.
Exactly.
So yeah, you just kind of have to see where things are at any given time, and see how people are responding to outreach. So.
And I'm sure some clients prefer email versus some clients like
exactly.
So you just probably adjust as
exactly. Exactly, because a lot of times it's send so and so an email at any given time at a 2-month interval or a 3-month interval based on what their needs are. If it's somebody that says, okay, well I really don't have anything for the next 6 months, we might still just want to kind of check in and see. A lot of times it's can we help you write requirements, or can we help to advocate to your superiors or to your bosses on your behalf, because sometimes they're struggling to get budget for things. And that's something that we've really found to be beneficial, because if we just come at them and say, okay, well, give us a call when you have a budget, if we approach it from the angle of, well, let's see what problems you're needing to address and how we can help advocate for you and help to kind of go to your internal team and help you make that case, because sometimes it's difficult to do when you're on the inside. You sometimes need that person on the outside to help make the case for you, and that's something that we often do, and it's just one of those things that, again, you're not necessarily going to see that immediate ROI on it, but if you can help them even when they don't have the dollars or they don't have the budget, the likelihood of them coming back to you when they do is so much greater.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
And I like the point you talked about, email versus calling somebody, whatever. I have a lot of people. I'm a photographer and a videographer.
Oh, okay.
So I have a lot of people that they will, I'll call them or I'll email them, and I won't hear from them, but I'll text them, and then I'll get a call in 15 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll just add and talk to them in weeks, and then I'll just ask how things are going, and they might even say, I've had some say, God, do you do this or do you do that? I've had some people say, put in a bid. We want to work with you again.
That's so great. Yeah. It's almost like you just have to kind of meet people where they want to be connected with. And for some people, that could even be just grabbing coffee. Like, they might not actually want to talk on the phone, or they just might not have time to schedule a meeting. But if you can just get them for a couple seconds one way or another, then you get to actually hear about those opportunities. So, any other questions? All right, well, I appreciate you guys sticking it out to the end of the day, and hopefully you can get to happy hour a little bit sooner.